Is this guy really Whitebeard's son? For years, everyone has been asking the wrong question. What if his story has nothing to do with family, but everything to do with a secret lab? What if he's not a son, but a failed experiment? Today, I'm going to prove to you that Edward Weevil is not Whitebeard's son, but a failed clone created by his so-called mother, Miss Buckin, using the forbidden science of MADS. And if you stick with me to the end, you'll see how this all leads back to the most dangerous pirate crew in history, the Rocks Pirates. Weevil's creation might literally be the key to bringing back Roxy Zebek himself. And before we go any further, this is a massive spoiler warning. We are spoiling everything from the manga, all the way through the Egghead arc. If you are not caught up, I'm giving you 3 seconds to click away. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's get into it. First, here's the story they want you to believe. After the war at Marineford, this monster named Edward Weevil shows up. This guy is so unbelievably strong that an admiral compared him to a young Whitebeard. He's with his mother, Miss Buckin, and she claims Weevil is Whitebeard's one and only son. Their goal? To get Whitebeard's legendary treasure. And honestly, you can almost see it. Weevil has Whitebeard's weapon and that crazy mustache, and his power is absolutely insane. He destroyed 16 of Whitebeard's old allied crews by himself. The power alone makes you wonder. Miss Buckin even proves she was on the Rocks Pirates ship with Whitebeard, so the timeline for a secret romance is there. It's a simple story about a secret son hunting for his inheritance. But this entire story completely falls apart if you just look a little closer. The biggest red flag comes from the one person who would know the truth. Marco the Phoenix. As Whitebeard's #1 guy, Marco knew him better than anyone, and when he hears about Weevil, he shuts it down. He admits Miss Buckin was on the same ship as Whitebeard decades ago, but he is 100% certain Whitebeard never had a family. Whitebeard's crew were his sons. The idea that he'd have a secret kid and not tell Marco is impossible. It destroys everything Whitebeard stood for. Then you have Weevil himself. His intelligence is a huge problem. He isn't just dumb. This man literally can't tell the difference between a picture of Whitebeard and his own reflection. People don't act like that. It's like he's a robot running on bad software. He's a puppet, and Miss Buckin is pulling every string. One minute he wants to avenge his dad, the next she distracts him with treasure. A real son wouldn't be that easily manipulated. A programmed clone would just follow its new command. The timing is also so suspicious. Why show up now? Why did Buckin wait until after Whitebeard was dead to show up? If she showed up when he was alive, he could have exposed the lie instantly. By waiting until he's gone, she makes sure the only person who could stop her can't talk. It's a perfect scam. And finally, just look at Miss Buckin. She does not care about Whitebeard's legacy. She cares about his money. Everything she tells Weevil to do is about getting paid. When Weevil is captured by an admiral, her call to Marco is insane. She begs him to save her son, and in the same breath demands the inheritance. Her priorities couldn't be more obvious. This isn't family, it's a heist. These aren't small plot holes. They are giant signs pointing to a much crazier, scientific truth. This is where the theory goes from a wild guess to proven science. We have to talk about MADS. For years, MADS was this huge mystery, but in the Egghead arc, we finally saw what they were. Imagine a pirate crew, but instead of pirates, it's the smartest scientists in the world. Vegapunk, Judge, Caesar, and even Queen. These geniuses made the biggest scientific discovery in One Piece history, the lineage factor. It's literally the universe's version of DNA, the blueprint for all life. And they didn't just find it, they learned how to copy it and clone it. This science is everything. It's not a theory, it's a fact in the One Piece world. Judge used it to make his Germa 66 clone army. Vegapunk used it to perfectly replicate devil fruits. The Seraphim, which are clones of the warlords, are real because of this science. The world's government can now literally copy legends. And this leads us to the most important clue. MADS created the first ever successful human clone. Her name is Stussy, and you will not believe who they cloned her from. The Stussy in CP0 is a perfect clone of a woman from the Rocks Pirates, named Buckingham Stussy, Miss Buckin herself. I'm going to say that again. The woman at the center of this mystery was on a ship with Whitebeard, she was involved with the scientists who invented cloning, and she herself was successfully cloned. It's all right there in the manga. Now, think about what Miss Buckin said. She claims Vegapunk could prove Weevil's lineage. Why would you go to a scientist to prove who your son is? She names Vegapunk because she knows Weevil isn't natural. He's a product of science. She knows Vegapunk can prove the connection to Whitebeard because he would recognize Whitebeard's lineage factor, his genetic blueprint, the second he saw it. The technology is real. Miss Buckin was with Whitebeard. Then she was with MADS, and she links Weevil's identity to the one man who can spot a clone. The story of a secret son is falling apart. The scientific evidence for a clone is a mountain of proof. So we have proof that cloning is real. We know Miss Buckin was there. The only question left is what went wrong. Stussy is MADS' first successful clone. She is a perfect copy, smart, independent, everything. Edward Weevil is the exact opposite. He's a monster, a broken cartoon version of the real Whitebeard. This difference is the entire failed experiment theory. Weevil isn't a masterpiece like the Seraphim. He's an early, busted attempt at copying a legend. First, just look at his body. He is literally stitched together, with scars all over his neck and arms. It looks like he was surgically pieced together like Frankenstein's monster. This could be exactly what a failed clone looks like. Maybe they tried to grow a body as massive as Whitebeard's, and it was so unstable it just kept falling apart and needed to be sewn back together. Then you have the power versus the brain. An admiral said Weevil has the strength of a young Whitebeard. That is an insane compliment. So they successfully copied his power from the lineage factor. They got the monster part right, but they completely failed to copy the man. Weevil has zero of Whitebeard's intelligence, his heart, or his charisma. His mind is a complete blank. This is the definition of a failed experiment. They got the hardware, but the software is broken. Miss Buckin, who was just a freeloader at MADS and not a genius, probably tried to do it herself. She stole the tech, stole Whitebeard's DNA from the Rock's ship, and created a failure. A super weapon with a broken mind. And for everyone who says, but their blood types don't match, you're about to have your mind blown. Weevil has Miss Buckin's blood type, not Whitebeard's. That sounds like it disproves this, right? Wrong. The Seraphim are warlord clones mixed with Lunarian DNA. What if Weevil isn't a pure clone? What if Buckin used her own lineage factor as the base and tried to paste Whitebeard's power onto it? That would explain why he has her blood type but his power. He would be the first ever hybrid clone. A total disaster because of how unstable it was. The stitched up body, the broken mind, and the fact that his mom was connected to Whitebeard and the world's greatest scientists. Weevil isn't the son of a legend. He is a walking, talking, scientific nightmare. If your mind is blown right now, you need to subscribe, because what I'm about to tell you changes everything in One Piece. You are not ready for this. So why would she do all this? Was it just for money? No. The real reason is so much bigger and so much more terrifying. To understand it, we have to go back to where it all started, the Rocks Pirates. The Rocks Pirates were not a crew of friends. It was a group of monsters. Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, Shiki, and Miss Buckin, all on one ship controlled by the insane power of their captain, Roxy Zebek. Miss Buckin didn't just have access to Whitebeard's DNA. She was on a ship with the DNA of a dozen other legends. So why clone Whitebeard? Maybe he was the strongest. But But what if the goal was never really to clone Whitebeard? What if he was just a test to create a vessel for their real captain? I'm going to say the name and everything will make sense. Rox D. Xebec. This brings us to a huge theme in One Piece: inherited will and memories. We know devil fruits might hold the memories of past users. Vegapunk himself believes that the lineage factor records a person's experiences. That would mean a clone could literally have the original's memories. Now think about our failed experiment. What if, while trying to create this Whitebeard clone, something else got mixed in? What if creating a vessel for one legend accidentally made it perfect for a much, much darker one? Here is the craziest part of this entire video. Edward Weevil, the failed clone of Whitebeard, might be an empty container for the memories and will of Rox D. Xebec. Think about it. Xebec wanted to be king of the world by controlling a crew of monsters. Miss Buckin is doing a low-budget version of that exact same thing. She controls one super powerful monster for her own selfish goals. She's copying her old captain, and Weevil is her one broken tool. Suddenly, Weevil isn't a side character anymore. He is a walking, talking time bomb for the final war. His empty mind is the perfect blank slate. What if a trigger, like visiting God Valley, could awaken the dormant consciousness of the most dangerous pirate to ever live inside him? Oda loves parallels. Luffy has Roger's will. Blackbeard seems to have Xebec's ambition. But what if Blackbeard only got the ambition, while Weevil, through a freak accident of science, holds the actual memories? That would be insane. Weevil's creation started as a scam for money, but it may have created a body for the return of Rox D. Xebec. If I'm right, Weevil is one of the most important characters for the end of One Piece. He connects the mysteries of the Rox Pirates and MADS to the final war. First, his capture by an admiral is an absolute disaster. Weevil is now a prisoner of the world government. For their scientists, he's a gold mine. They have a living prototype from the very beginning of human cloning. They can study him, see what went wrong, and maybe learn to make even more powerful clones for the final war. On top of that, Miss Buckin is begging Vegapunk to save Weevil. Imagine that meeting. Vegapunk, the father of cloning, meeting this walking failure from his old research group. He could be the key to unlocking Weevil's mind and discovering the terrifying secret, like Xebec's will, hidden inside. This makes Weevil the ultimate wildcard in the final war. He's not just Whitebeard's son. He is a living weapon connected to Whitebeard, MADS, and the Rox Pirates. So whose side will he fight on? If Marco frees him, he could be an unbelievably powerful ally. He already protected Whitebeard's home island from the Marines, which shows a tiny spark of Whitebeard's will might be in there. But the Xebec threat is always there. What if an enemy like Blackbeard finds out what Weevil is? Blackbeard is obsessed with Rox. If he found a potential vessel for Xebec's will, he would do anything to get his hands on it. Weevil could become the ultimate prize. Weevil's story is not over. Oda put this weapon on the board years ago, and it's finally about to be fired. So let's recap. The story that Edward Weevil is Whitebeard's son, it's a lie, created by a greedy woman to get rich. Marco's denial and Weevil's broken mind prove it's a scam. The science, however, points to a crazier truth. Edward Weevil is a failed clone of Whitebeard, a botched experiment by Miss Buckin using stolen MADS technology. His insane power, stitched up body, and blank slate mind are all signs of science gone horribly wrong. And the most terrifying part? This failure might have created the perfect empty vessel for the will of the most dangerous pirate in history, Rox D. Xebec. Weevil isn't just some weirdo. He is a scientific time bomb that could completely change the final war. But now I want to know what you think. Is Weevil a failed clone with a dark secret, or am I completely crazy? Let me know your theories in the comments right now. I read every single one. And if you want more insane deep dives into One Piece, subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. Thanks for watching.